guys? Welcome to the Nurse Nook. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Alexis Nicole and I make videos all about nursing, lifestyle, and wellness. I'm a recent nurse practitioner grad. I graduated last month with my neonatal nurse practitioner degree. And so I asked my Instagram audience to ask me any questions they had about my program, what grad school was like, and my whole experience. So in this video, I'm going to be answering the most frequently asked questions about grad school. Starting off hot and heavy, one of the most popular questions I got was how much grad school cost me and how did I pay for it? So I ran the numbers and total grad school cost me about $29,000. And that was for a 2.5 year long program. The program is 7 semesters. I thankfully was able to pay for the first 1.5 years. So that was the first 4 semesters out of pocket. And the last 3 semesters, or the last year, I got a scholarship and I also used financial aid. Ideally going into the program, to be transparent, y'all, I get weird about sharing things about my finances, my personal finances and things like that. But I feel like this is something that is very helpful for people to know, to set somewhat of an expectation. And so people can go into things knowing what to expect to pay. So I'm sharing the numbers, which is a little uncomfortable for me, but I think it's important to be transparent for my audience. So I purposely went to an in-state school because I did not want to pay out-of-state tuition. So I went to the University of Texas Medical Branch, which is great because we had to go to campus about once a semester. And so it was very doable to drive and come back home versus going to an out-of-state school. You're paying out-of-state tuition and then you're having to pay for flight and hotel whenever you need to go to campus. Like, that's crazy to me. So I'm happy that I was able to pay the first 1.5 years out of pocket. To be transparent, y'all, I really was hoping to pay for the entire program out of pocket, but I had some lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes being I bought a home, I got engaged, and I started planning a wedding. So those are all very, very big ticket items. And so a lot of my money went to that. I prioritized my home, the wedding, as far as the financial aspect, not prioritizing that over my education. I was prioritizing that financially at the time, and that for the last year, even though it hurt my spirit, I'm like, you know, I'm gonna use the scholarship I have and then accept financial aid to help pay for the rest, and then I will pay that off when I start working and making the big bucks. The cool thing about grad school is there are a lot of scholarship opportunities. You really just have to take them. I probably didn't seek out as many scholarship opportunities as I should, but a lot of people don't as well. So that means the pool is smaller, which means your chances of getting a scholarship are higher. Another popular question is, was it difficult to find clinical sites? So this is something that I hear is a very, very big pain point in FNP programs and other nurse practitioner programs. I was very lucky that because the neonatal nurse practitioner community is so small, a lot of the units around the Houston area have relationships with the school that I went to. So it was pretty simple. I just had to fill out a form and I was assigned a preceptor. I didn't necessarily have to go out and hunt. I really just had to make sure I had the link to apply and then wait on whether or not I was approved or not. So for me, that wasn't a pain point in this program, but I hear it's really rough out there, y'all. Some people are paying thousands of dollars for preceptors on top of tuition. That is craziness to me. I feel like in the medical field, it's your duty to pay it forward and teach the up and coming class of providers, and to charge them thousands of dollars to me is unethical and crazy, but I'm not gonna get into that. Another big question is, what was my scheduling like? So was I full-time? Was I part-time? Did I work? How many days a week did I do clinical? So I was part-time throughout my whole program. Again, to be transparent, I do make some supplemental income through social media. So that's how I was able to maintain being part-time while still making sure that I was paying my bills, mortgage, saving to a wedding, paying tuition, and all that. I feel that part-time is very doable. It did get difficult in my very last semester. If you've seen my most recent videos where I talk about grad school a little bit more in depth, I had 380 hours to complete my last semester, which is 32 clinical shifts. And so I had 3.5 months to get that done. So if you do the calculations, working part-time, that's like almost 5 to 6 days every single week. So what I did was I took a day of PTO each week for, I want to say 8 weeks. And I was able to get all my days done that way. And having my scheduling like that, I was working 4 to 5 days every week, majority of those days being unpaid. But that was the very last semester, which I think is unique to my program. I don't know many other programs that have that much of a heavy clinical load, especially in one semester. Previously, I only was doing 15 clinical shifts a semester, which is very, very doable. I had a ton of classmates that did maintain their full-time jobs while doing that. So I think if you are wanting to stay full-time during a program, I think it's doable. I think it may be difficult, but we can do hard things. So how much experience you need before applying to NP school? Majority of NP schools recommend 2 years. A lot of them will accept prior to 2 years. The NICU, the neonatal nurse practitioner program is pretty strict about having your 2 years of experience prior to starting your clinical. So I had a year of experience, a little bit over a year, when I applied to the program. However, once I started clinicals, I would have had 2 years of experience. So I was one of the students in my program that had the least amount of clinical experience in the NICU. And so I was very intimidated going in. A lot of my classmates around me had been transport nurses, flight nurses, have had years and years of experience. And I was like coming in as this little like baby NICU nurse. I'm like, I'm just so excited, I want to learn, but not having like the experience behind my back. So that part made it difficult for me only because I found myself comparing quite a bit, which is a big no-no. And I always try to talk about that because that was a huge hurdle that I personally had. But long story short, if you want to become a neonatal nurse practitioner, you need at least 2 years of nursing experience, specifically in the NICU, and specifically in a level 3 or 4 NICU. So how does NP school compare to RN school? This question has so many layers to it. It's not a black and white answer. I can start off by the difficulty of the coursework, in my opinion. I would say the coursework in nursing school, as in becoming an RN, is a little bit more difficult. Again, my opinion, only because you're coming in with no medical knowledge whatsoever, no knowledge of, outside of going to anatomy and physiology and chemistry, you have like no hands-on hospital knowledge. You have no knowledge of specialties. You have like no foundation. Whereas in NP school, you've already been a nurse for years. You've gone through RN school. You know a lot of the mechanics on how the body works, a lot of patho, a lot of pharmacokinetics, you know your anatomy at this point. So a lot of it is just expanding on that. I think the hardest part is building that foundation of knowledge, which is RN school. So as far as how much I struggled with the coursework, I would say in nursing school was a little bit more difficult for me. Now, as far as time management and lifestyle effects, I think my last year of NP school was a little bit more difficult because in nursing school, I didn't really work besides the last 3 semesters, and that was pure N. So I was working like 1 to 2, maybe 3 times a month. Whereas in NP school, I was working at least 2 days a week, plus clinical, plus exams, plus any coursework. So that is what made it difficult for me. Not necessarily the work itself, but trying to balance. Doing a program that is mainly online, in my opinion, was difficult because you have to have the discipline to sit down and study and look at your PowerPoints. There's no like, okay, classes from 8 to 10, like we're gonna lock in and do lecture. It's like, no, your lectures are on the computer and you log in and study whenever you have the time to. And that can be very dangerous because you can push it off and not complete it. And next thing you know, the exam is in 2 days and you haven't opened anything. So the discipline and the time management and balancing, in my opinion, is a very difficult part of the program. But if we're looking at difficulty of content, I would say RN school, nursing school, and then difficulty of lifestyle, NP school. A really good question a few people had was, did we write a lot of papers in NP school? I would not say a lot. The papers were a little bit more heavy in my general education classes. So like in research, I can't even remember the other classes I took. Public policy, classes like that were a little bit more paper heavy, but I wouldn't even say it was like a significant amount. I maybe had like 2 papers per class in those general education classes, and they were not very long at all. What was heavy is the case studies. So these aren't necessarily papers like essays that you're just writing. A case study, in my opinion, is a bit more difficult than just writing a paper because you're presented a case and you have to essentially diagnose, write a care plan, reference your plan of care, provide all different types of resources to support all of your findings. So that was very, very time consuming. That was probably like the biggest projects we had in the program. And we had about like 3 of those a semester. And so that was really, really heavy. And necessarily was not, I don't consider a paper. I guess it is a paper. Even though they were pretty difficult, I think they were very, very useful for learning purposes. I think I learned a ton during those case studies. I guess it's essentially like care plans on crack. Do you remember the care plans for nursing school that you had to do, which were the bane of my existence? I hated those care plans. The NP case studies are like 10 times what those care plans were. It was just very time consuming. But again, I learned a lot, so I can't say that I hated them because they really did help my learning. Another super popular question is, how much money do the neonatal nurse practitioners make? Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, I'm not super comfortable sharing my own personal finances as far as like down to the dollar sign, but I will share some information online. And I can tell you that it's pretty accurate. Just to preface this, I did accept a job offer prior to my last semester of NP school. So I do have a job lined up, and I can tell you that these numbers are pretty accurate based off of what I accepted. So per ChatGPT, and this is from salary.com, in the Houston area, new grad and NP salaries range from $129,000 to $152,000. Now it's important to note that that says Houston, okay? I have seen and heard of other NNPs around the country who accepted much different numbers than that. This is specific to Houston. I think NNPs is a field that can range quite a bit depending on your geographical location. So it is important to keep that in mind when moving forward with this career. So the last popular question I'm going to answer is how I balance it all. How I balance still working as a nurse, still trying to keep up with my social media, still keeping up with my schoolwork, with clinicals, wedding planning, and buying a home. It sounds all crazy when I list all that stuff back. It's actually funny because when we first started the program, it was recommended to, try to avoid any huge lifestyle changes. So buying a home, getting married, traveling overseas. And I literally did all of that because I'm naughty and didn't follow directions. But I think, and I say this all the time, I think if you are disciplined, you can make it through absolutely anything. If you want something bad enough, you can make it happen. I'm not saying that it was an easy balance. I don't think at any point I 100% had everything in balance. I was always giving a little bit more to one thing, whether that is this week I'm putting a little bit more time in my studying, then that means I'm neglecting my partner, or I'm putting more time into studying and my partner and I'm not taking care of my fitness and not working out as often as I want to. It's not a 100% perfect harmonious balance all the time. It's a give and take, and really the best piece of advice I can give people is to prioritize what's important to you and move forward with that. You can't be giving 100% in every single category. Something is gonna waver. So if you're prioritizing your family and school, do just that. Make sure that you're carving out time in your schedule to be with your family, and you're carving out time in your schedule to be studying. And I know it sounds very trivial and insignificant, but spending time off of your phone significantly increases your amount of free time. If you look at your screen time, I guarantee you it's a few hours, okay, for the day. Imagine using those hours and instead spending time with your family, using those hours instead going to the gym, using those hours instead studying and doing your homework. Okay, it adds up. Every hour counts. And when you're in a tough season like this, it's all about optimizing your time and not wasting your time on things that don't make you feel great. So prioritize what you know is going to be there forever, and that is your education, the people that you love, and don't forget about your health. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments on any videos you want to see in the future, and I will see you on the next video.